Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast today in as part of the Chaos Imprint. This audio podcast is part of the Path modality. This audio podcast is part of the Shitstorm broadcast, and this audio podcast is part of the Armada and Storm mode. This audio podcast is part of a Storm Robotics production. Through today's audio podcast, a look at the transmission of viral infection as part of where this series looks at a general sort of review of virus structure, nature, and pathogenicity. So in around the transmission of viral infection, there are two main sort of patterns or bases for transmission of for viral transmissions. So initially, in around where viruses are maintained in a in single species, and secondly, where there are alternate infection of insect and vertebrate hosts, for example, arboviruses, and for example, yellow fever. In around the transmission of viral infections that can also be described, in around transmission, there are viral infections can also be described as, for example, vertical and or horizontal. Vertical transmission is usually utilized to describe direct transmission of virus in utero. That, for example, rubella or cytomegalovirus or human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. Transmission from a mother to a child may also occur paternally or postpartum through breast milk or colostrum or saliva. In around horizontal transmission in context of viruses occurs by a number of different routes. For example, respiratory, and that through aerosol, saliva, or from oral fomites. Gastrointestinal being fecal oral, genital urinary, being venereal or sexual, and then and/or percutaneous, and then as part of some of the entry of viruses, there is the basis through the skin. So, for example, entry through abrasions, for example, papillomaviruses and vaccina, and inoculation of contaminated blood, for example, hepatitis B and or HIV or human immunodeficiency virus, and insect or animal bite. So, for example, yellow fever or rabies. Additionally through mucous membranes. So, for example, entry through the respiratory tract, for example, influenza and rhinovirus, and then entry through the conjunctiva, for example, adenoviruses and enteroviruses, and then entry through the gastrointestinal tract, for example, through polioviruses and rotaviruses, and then through entry through the genital tract, for example, through HIV, herpes herpes simplex virus. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. That again, on part of this audio podcast series, there will be some literature aligned to where listeners or viewers can check out some of the literature to identify sort of similar or relatable understanding, and so that draws this audio podcast to a close as part of the Chaos Imprint. This audio podcast is part of the Path modality. This audio podcast is part of the Shitstorm broadcast. This audio podcast is part of the Armada and Storm mode, and this audio podcast is part of a Storm Robotics production.